All right, hi everyone. I'm just gonna wait a couple of minutes so that we can all get sorted. But welcome, it's really cool that we can still do this virtually. This is Lulu. She really loves to be in front of the camera. She was asleep until 2 minutes ago. Yeah, this is a cool opportunity to, maybe if you've got someone at home who's been a little bit curious about yoga but not keen to come along to a class outside, they can have a little look and see what it's all about. Or maybe in this practice, it's an opportunity for you to try some things that maybe you wouldn't want to try in a room with other people around you. So feel free to get a little weird with it. I suggest setting yourself up so the short edge of your mat is facing whatever you are watching this on. So just like you'd set up in a class with the short end of your mat facing the teacher, that way you'll always be able to see what I'm doing. I'm going to need to switch myself around directionally a couple of times, but hopefully that won't be too confusing. Prop-wise, we're not going to use anything in particular. You might want to grab like a little cushion to sit on, and maybe a throw or a blanket for your shavasana, depending on where you are and the temperature. It's a really nice, beautiful, sunny day here, so very grateful for that. I've got the light streaming in. Okay, so how are we going? We'll get started in a seated position. So maybe you want to prop yourself up on the pillow, taking a gentle cross of the legs. If this isn't something that works for your hips or your knees, you can take a different seat. We just want the spine to be long and the shoulders to be able to relax downward. So when you've found your seat, let's all flip the palms to face up as an invitation of openness to the practice. And when you're comfortable, close down the eyes. And no matter what is going on around you, can we start to detach from it? And instead of letting our focus be outward, begin to draw it inward. Start to notice the way that you're breathing. Before we change anything about the breath, just take a moment to feel it out. What's happening with your breath today? Shifting from unconscious breathing to conscious breathing. And crossing that bridge of awareness down into the body. With awareness falling on your breath, maybe you start to draw it deeper down into the belly, allowing the belly to swell as you inhale and soften as you exhale. And let's just take a few more deep rounds of breath here. Settling in, let the body soften into this practice. All right, we're going to begin today with a little pranayama. It's called Nadi Shodhana. You can practice this along with me. It's an alternate nostril breath. If you prefer not to, if you're feeling maybe a little blocked up today, you can just visualize the practice instead, but stay with the same rhythm of breath. So if you're coming with me, we are bringing the right hand up toward the face. The thumb rests on the right nostril, and the fourth and fifth finger gently rest on the left nostril. So we don't want to be forcing the hand on the face and really pressing in. It's just a really nice light touch. The pointer and middle finger can either fold in or just rest lightly on the space in between the eyebrows. Let the shoulders relax. Let's take a deep breath in through both nostrils. And a full breath out. Then closing off the right nostril, inhale through the left. Close off the left, open the right, exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Open the left, close the right, exhale through the left. And that's one round. Let's inhale through the left. Open the right, close the left, exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Open the left, close the right, exhale through the left. Keep this going. So the breath is moving up through the left. Close the left, open the right, down through the right. Up through the right. And down through the left, making almost like a pyramid shape. Continue this at your own rate, in your own time. Breathing up and down that apex. And again, if the one nostril maybe is a little bit blocked, you can release the hand and just visualize the breath moving up the apex. And this is a great practice to calm the nervous system. And take a few more rounds. Keeping the breath long and steady. And then the next time you breathe out through the left nostril, we will release this practice. You can relax your right hand back down toward your right knee. There's no rush to get there. And just breathe calmly through both nostrils. Feeling the effects of that pranayama on your body. And acknowledging that the way that we breathe can really alter the state of the body. So with that acknowledged, let's endeavor to keep the breath long and steady as we begin to move through this practice today. So if your eyes are still closed, inviting them open. And we're going to make our way over into a tabletop. So coming onto your hands and knees. We'll take the wrists underneath the shoulders and the knees underneath the hips. Spine is nice and long, so draw the sit bones back, the crown of the head forward, building as much length through the spine as you can. We'll plant down through the palms and spread the fingers, and then gently try and tug back at the hands as if you're trying to drag them back toward your knees, but the palms are glued down to the mat. So we're drawing back against the hands and starting to thread the chest through the upper arms, and this will stretch the belly out when we come into that cow shape of the cat-cow. And then from here we'll press down into the hands, out of the shoulders, hollow out the belly as you draw your chin into your collarbones. This is an exhale. And on the inhale again, draw back against the hands to lengthen the chest through the upper arms, and this will stretch the belly out, facing forward, not straining the neck. And then exhale, hollow out the belly, press out of the shoulders. And as much movement as the spine allows here. Let's go for 2 more rounds. Inhale, just exploring how the torso feels with this. And exhale. One more, inhale. Pulling back against those hands and exhale, pressing away. Okay, coming back toward a neutral spine on the breath in. We're going to keep the knees over the hips, but walk the hands forward on the exhale. And again, the hands are glued to the mat, and we start to pull back against them, like you're trying to thread your chest down to the space between your thighs. And then let the head go heavy. Now the forehead doesn't need to rest on the mat. It can just sort of hang in space a little bit. We're trying to relax through the muscles of the neck and the jaw. Maybe the forehead finds the mat, but we're pulling back against the hands. The arms are reached so far forward that the hips stay roughly over the knees. So coming into puppy pose, but a little bit more actively with this drawing back on those hands, noticing how it feels underneath the armpits, underneath the shoulders. A couple more breaths here. And then pressing back against the hands to lift the upper body back up, and let's walk those hands back in underneath the shoulders. Okay, from here we're going to bring the big toes together and let the knees go wide. They can go as wide as the hips or a little bit wider, but no wider than the mat. We don't want to be opening too much for the hips to start with. Let's draw hips back to heels and reach the hands as far forward as you can. Press into the fingertips, let the chest sink down, the forehead sink downward. And just one round of breath here, allowing the body to soften. And then taking a lateral stretch, lifting the head and the chest a little bit, walking the hands off the mat to the left. The right hand is going to interlace over the left. And then we're going to lower the chest and the head down. Again, if it doesn't go all the way down, that's okay. Now, glue the left hand onto the mat and start to draw back against the right hand, rolling the right armpit downward toward the mat, finding a nice big opening under the armpit across the shoulder. And full round of breath here. And then lifting out of this a little, releasing the interlace of the fingers, walking the hands back through center and taking them off the mat to the right. So we draw the hips back, we reach the hands forward. Left hand interlaces over the right hand. Glue your right hand down and then pull back against the left hand like you're trying to drag it back toward your shoulder, rolling the armpit down, maybe bringing the forehead down. Opening across the left side of the body, and maybe you start to direct your breath to that sensation of opening. Alright, releasing the interlace of the fingers, lifting up a little, walking the hands back through center, planting the palms down, rolling back up. Find your tabletop so the knees come in underneath the hips, wrists under shoulders. We'll tuck the toes, draw hips back to heels, pull back against the hands, hover the knees, and then press the thigh bones back, coming into a downward facing dog. Let's all start with the knees generously bent. The thigh bones pulling back, the sternum sinking through, the head nice and heavy. And then we'll pedal at the feet one at a time, pressing one heel down toward the mat as you bend the opposite knee. And just exploring sensation through the backs of those legs. And we'll turn these little pedals of the feet into teeny tiny steps and start to walk our way up to the top of the mat. And at some point the hands might need to lift. Try to leave that as late as you can as you come up to the top. We'll bring feet together, big toes touch heels slightly apart. If this doesn't feel great on your lower back, you can work with your feet at hip distance apart. And then running hands up to shins. Just like you did on the mat, we pull back against the hands to draw the chest through. Find a halfway lift, spine as long, gaze is down. Exhale, fold back down over your legs. Generous bend through the knees, belly to thighs, head heavy. And then press firmly down through the feet, root to rise. Sweep the arms wide, a nice big slow circle up. No need to rush, we've got plenty of time. Palms pressed together, and then draw your hands down to your heart. And then once your hands are at your heart, begin your inhale and lift your chest into your thumbs. And with the exhale, relax your hands down by your sides and turn the palms to face forward. Feel how this broadens across the collarbones. Take a big breath in, let the breath fill that broadness, that space across the chest. And then full breath out. Inhale nice and slow, sweep the arms wide. And up. Exhale, draw your hands down through center as you fall down over your legs, Uttanasana. Coming up to lift halfway, hands to shins, pull back against the hands to draw the chest through, spine is long. And then fold your way back down, fingertips come down onto the mat. From here, we're going to pick the left foot up and step it back. And then bring the left knee down and carefully positioning the body. So we want the left knee to be directly behind the left hip, not behind the right heel. So you're not working on a tightrope, you're working like on train tracks. We'll keep the back toes tucked under to begin with. And we're going to come on up. So you might want to use your right knee as a little prop to lift up. Coming up into a nice lifted lunge. We're not trying to sink forward and down into this. We want the knee of the front leg to track over the ankle. And we want to be pressing down through the foot. And then just like you were with the hands before, imagine you're trying to drag that foot back toward the hip. All right. Opposite on this leg. So we're pressing out of the back foot, rolling the back hip forward to help even up through the hips. Now we can have a little self-adjustment here. So take your hands onto your hips and just feel for where they are in space. If you feel your right hip pulling forward a little bit, use your hands, help it tuck back, wrap back by wrapping the left hip forward. And then notice how your pelvis is positioned, and we want it upright and neutral. So take one hand to your back, one hand to the front of the pelvis, and then just tilt, drawing the pubic bone up toward the belly button, the tailbone down toward the floor. With this nice upright pelvis, we can start to really feel a deeper stretch down across the left hip flexor. And we're also protecting the lower back. So when we tilt the pelvis forward, it's much easier to jar into the lower back. Let's not go there. So we want to draw up, work with those self-adjustments. And then when you feel nice and stable from the ground, we work up a little higher into the body, and we're going to start to broaden across the chest again. So hands are going to come behind the head, elbows draw wide. Let the head relax back into the hands, but not so the chin jumps up. We're going to draw the chin in, press the head back, draw the elbows back, the shoulder blades down and back, and with all of this, the heart space starts to lift up. We're not bending backwards, we're rising, expanding in the space around us. Take a few rounds of breath here, just check in with how it feels. Make those little adjustments in your practice continuously. So we're not just checking in and then being done with that check-in. We revisit different parts of the body, building awareness. One more inhale. And one more exhale. And then release the interlace of the fingers, reach the arms up, circle the hands forward and down. Fingertips, or maybe if you have some blocks or something to prop the hands out, that could also work. Pull the hips back just until the left hip comes over the left knee. And then we're going to press into the right heel and flex the toes up. So you can see my leg isn't completely straight. It doesn't need to be to get a stretch through the back of the leg. So depending on how flexible you are through that hamstring, you might want to keep the knee a little bit bent. If you're pressing your leg to straight, make sure you're not locking out the knee joint. It can be a bit damaging. So keep the knee a little soft. Press into the heel, and just like we did before with this foot, we want to be dragging it back, like you're trying to draw your heel to your hip. This will help us, fingertips down, dragging back against the heel to draw the chest forward between the upper arms. So we build length, we build space without being collapsing downward or losing the structure and the alignment in the body. Chest forward, drag back against the hands, drag back against that right heel. Notice the space through the back of the right leg. It can feel a little strong, so you might want to bend the knee a bit more, adjust in your body. Listen to what feels right for you today. One more round of breath. And then let's bend the right knee. So the right knee comes over the right ankle. Walk your hands forward. We're coming on up, lifting that back knee. So back toes are tucked, squeeze the inner thighs. And then you'll notice my stance here is quite wide. I'm going to step my back foot up a little bit, and then maybe even a little bit wider so that I have a stable base. Draw the left heel in. We're coming to warrior one. Ground through the outer edge of that back foot. Lift through the inner arch. Bend through the right knee. Tuck the tailbone under and start to rise. So another self-adjustment here. You might feel your left hip starting to tug back, the right hip forward. We're aiming for hips to be square to that front edge of the mat again. Might not happen all at once, and that's okay, but we're energetically moving the body in that direction. So wrapping that left hip forward and the right hip back. By wrapping the left hip forward, you're actually rolling the inner thigh back as well. So helping that movement around the body. Pressing through the right foot, dragging back against it, tucking the tailbone under. Finding that stability, aiming to square off the hips without needing to be all the way there. Great, and then let's start to lift the arms up. As you lift the arms, check in with your shoulders, relax the shoulders down and back. Keep the tailbone tucked. We can stay here, or maybe you want to bring your hands together, interlace the fingers. Point through the pointer, and if that feels okay, draw the arms back, open across the chest without taking it into the lower back. Keep drawing your feet inward toward the center line of your body. Let's take one more breath in here. And one more breath out. So as arms have drawn back a little bit, draw them back up above your head on the inhale, release the interlace of the fingers, and on your exhale, we'll fold down, bending the right knee generously to bring the hands down. We're pulling back against that right foot to take the right leg a little straighter. It doesn't need to come all the way to straight. We're trying to square the hips back off to the front. So roll your left hip forward, your left inner thigh back, and pull back against the right foot. Maybe nice and high on the fingertips, drag back against the hands to lift the chest through. Spine is long, breathing into the back of that right leg. Let's hold here for 3, for 2, and 1. Soften the right knee, plant the palms down. Other side of the right foot, then lift the left heel. And we're going to step that right foot back. Find your downward facing dog and notice any difference between the first time you found this shape and now. Maybe one side feels a little bit more open than the other, and that's okay. We just want to feel for whatever it is that's occurring. Okay, from here, we'll come forward. Shoulders come over your wrists and bring the knees down into a low plank. Untuck the toes, draw the pubic bone forward toward the belly button. Wrap the elbows in, and then let's lower it down, thighs, hips, lower belly, chest. Take a moment to press the pubic bone down and forward, mindfully lengthen out the lower back. And then from here, start to tug back against the hands, like you're trying to drag your palms back toward your hips, but they're stuck to the mat. As you tug back against your hands, wrap your elbows in, and you might find a little lift through the chest. A little broadening across the collarbones. All right, we can stay here, or we hover the hands off the mat. Keep pressing the pubic bone forward, tugging back against the hands. We can stay here, or maybe reach the hands all the way back as if you're trying to take your fingers toward your heels. Let's take one more inhale. Wherever you are, make sure the back of the neck is long. And then on the exhale, very slowly, lowering yourself back down. Press the hands down underneath the shoulders, tuck the toes, lift up towards your tabletop, and then step back into your downward facing dog. Let's inhale here, roll high onto the tippy toes. On the exhale, bring the knees down toward a tabletop. Press into the knees, and on the inhale, we'll roll ourselves up, vertebra by vertebra. Shoulders come up into the ears at the top of the breath, and then shoulders roll down and back on the exhale. Your left foot is going to step forward, and this will bring us toward the other side. So as your left foot steps forward, find that upright lunge, so we're not sinking too far forward into this. We're pressing into the foot, tugging back against the heel, Self-adjusting, so hands to hips, figure out where they are in space. Maybe we need to pull the left hip back a little bit, roll the outer right hip forward, the right inner thigh back. Imagine you're trying to pull your legs back toward each other. And then one hand to the lower back, one hand to the front of the pelvis. We tilt upward, so drawing pubic bone up toward belly button, lengthening out the lower back. Great, keep pulling back against that left foot. Feel the stability around the hip. So there's a lot of activity. Might not look like we're changing anything, but we're starting to activate different points in the body. We're drawing in, we're lifting up, spine is long. Let's broaden across the collarbones, invite the hands behind the head. Let the head rest back into the hands, but not taking the chin up, drawing the chin in. Elbows nice and wide, shoulders down and back. Lower back stays long. Legs and feet stay stable. Maybe the chest begins to lift a little upward. We're not going backwards. What happens to your breath? How does this position affect the way that you're breathing? Can you allow an area of the body to find a bit more softness? Are you using somewhere that we don't actually need to be using here? Maybe the jaw or the eyebrows. One more round of breath. And then releasing the hands from behind the head, reaching them up. Circling the hands forward and down. And then drawing the hips back until your right hip is over the right knee. And then pressing your left heel down and flexing the toes up. Remembering that the left leg does not need to be completely straight, but we're tugging back against the heel to bring the hips into alignment. Now from your lunge to this shape, you might need to adjust where your foot is on the mat. But what we're aiming for is even hips here. And you know, this doesn't need to happen all at once. We're just finding those points of engagement. It doesn't need to be perfect. We're just building an understanding of what's happening in our bodies. So heel down, draw it back. Try to flex those toes up. Even spread them out. Get really active through the foot. Draw them back toward the kneecap. And hello, that's the back of that leg. Nice and high on the fingertips. Again, draw back against the fingertips as well. And lift the chest through the upper arms. So we're not collapsing downward, we're lifting up, and in that lifting, we're expanding across the chest. Keep the back of the neck long, the chin tucked in. Sometimes when we're trying to, draw forward, we tend to use our sight sense and then lead with the head, and the chin jumps right out like this, and the back of the neck usually isn't very happy with that. So let's give the back of the neck some space. We don't need to use our eyes to go where we're aiming for. Chest forward, shoulders back. One more round of breath. Hey, yes. All right, and then from here, we'll bend the knee. Bring the fingertips down. Never work with children and animals, right? Tuck the back toes under, and we're going for our warrior one leg. So we lift up with the back knee. Maybe we step the back foot forward a little bit and wider a little bit. Roll that back heel down, ground through the outer edge of the foot. Roll the inner thigh back, the outer hip forward. Try square your hips off to the front. And I like to do that here with my hands down because it gives me a little bit more support to explore how I'm using my feet. And we're down, we can look at what's happening. And then once you feel grounded and stable, nice and carefully and slowly start to lift up. So as we, get to know Virabhadrasana 1, we don't need to go straight into a super wide lunge, a super bent knee to get started with. I'm just going to flip myself around so you can see what's happening on this side. So we don't want to be so far out that we're getting super bendy because we're less likely to be aligned through the body. So step it in, step it wide, give yourself a nice stable base. Roll the right outer hip forward, draw the left sit bone back. Bend the left knee, ground through the foot and try drive it back. Tuck the tailbone under, the pubic bone up. And this is the beginning of the lift of the chest. finding the stability, protecting the lower back. When you're ready, we start to discover what it feels like to take the arms up, and then keep adjusting through the body. Sometimes when the arms go up, the chest goes really flary, like those ribs start to fan out. Draw the ribs in, and instead from the sternum, lift through the center of the chest. Chin is tucked in, back of the neck is long. Maybe we interlace the fingers, point through the pointer finger, try to lengthen across the armpits a little bit more. And then perhaps invite those arms a little bit back to lift the chest without flaring the ribs, without dumping into the lower back. So tuck the tailbone under, drag the feet in toward each other. There's a lot going on. Can we remember to breathe and let the breath be more important than any of the physical positioning? One more round of breath in and out. And then inhale, bring the hands back up through center. Release the interlace of the fingers. As you exhale, bring your hands down. Frame out that left foot. Lift the back foot heel up, which will be your right heel. And step the right foot forward. The feet hip distance apart, or maybe big toes together, heels a little wide. On the inhale, hands to shins, drag back against the hands, send the chest through. On the exhale, soften and fold over your legs. Press down through the soles of the feet, rise up, nice and slowly, sweep the arms widen up, keep the shoulders out of the ears, palms find each other, fingers interlace. Now reach up toward the ceiling, and we're going to take a little lean out to the left. And then come back up. We're going to go back to the same side. Rather than leaning to the left, shortening the left side, expanding the right side, can we keep both sides of the body long? So really reach upward first, build length through that left side, and then keep the length as you arc over as much as possible. Notice if that felt any different. Coming back up through center, we'll go to the other side, so we're reaching high, and then a little hinge to the right. And then coming back up, and with the intention of building more length, touch the ceiling. Keep that length as you go back over to the right, and notice if it feels any difference. Come back up. Again, reach for the ceiling. Now let's release the interlace of the fingers and take a big swan dive down over the legs. Halfway lift on the inhale, drag back against the hands, chest through. And fold down on the exhale. Okay, switching it up a little bit. We're going to step the right foot back, so pick the right foot up, reach it back, tap the toes down, then bring the knee down. So the left knee is over the left ankle. Your right toes are going to swivel to the left. Your left hand comes to your left knee, and we come on up. So now we're letting those hips peel open. So your right hip is drawing back behind your left, but it doesn't need to be all the way behind your left. It's just on its journey toward getting there. The destination means absolutely nothing. Just depends on the structure of your body, okay? So if you're pulling that hip back, and in pulling the hip back, your left knee is coming in, we don't want that. Keep your knee aligning straight forward over your middle toes, and we draw back against the hip, but not to lose that position of the knee, okay? So it tugs back, and then we're rolling the inner thigh in for support. We're pressing the left knee out a little bit so you can see your left big toe, and that's just to keep the muscles engaged so we don't start to do this. All right, hands to the pelvis again. Find a nice long lower back, and then try and drag your left heel toward your right knee. Zip it up. How does that feel? Yeah, okay. From here, we're going to take the arms wide, coming into a warrior two variation. So your left hand goes forward in line with the shoulder. Your right hand goes back, also in line with the shoulder, and the gaze is focused over the left middle finger. Spine is long. Notice if you're leaning a little forward or leaning a little back, and come upright. Keep tucking the towel, reaching through the crown of the head. From here, take your right hand to support your right hip, flip your left palm up, and reach it up toward the ceiling. So again, we're not pulling back, we're lifting up, to build length and space through that left side. Can you touch your ceiling? Can you find more space here? One more round of breath in. And one more exhale. Let's inhale to reach. And exhale to bring your left hand back forward. Take your left hand down to your left thigh. We're now going to pull back a little bit. Your right hip is directly up over your knee. And then the left leg is going to go long-ish, which means it doesn't need to be completely straight. And we don't want to lock that knee joint out. Okay, we're going to press into the heel, flex the toes up, like you're trying to draw the toes back toward the knee. Press into the heel and tug back toward your right knee. Keep the hips as even as you can. That right hip is still pulling back, but it doesn't need to be all the way back. Okay, from here, left hand to left thigh, right hand behind the head. Elbow tracks nice and wide, breath in. And then just gently walk your left hand down your left leg as you clock your right elbow up toward the ceiling. So we're not folding forward, we're peeling open, creating space around the right rib cage, right up into the right shoulder. Maybe even seeking a little stretch down the triceps or up the back of the arm by lifting through that elbow a little bit more. Let the right hand support the head. So it's not just there, not doing anything. Cup the back of your head and hold it like you'd hold a small child. And reach that elbow up. Let the head relax into the hand, the jaw relax. All right, release your right hand, come back up. And then from here, we're going to slide the left leg back, rebend through the left knee, circle the hands around, send your right toes back toward the back of the mat. So we're going to come up off the back knee and do a similar variation. So back toes tuck, back knee lifts, back heel rolls back, so right heel rolls back. This time the right hip is coming back behind the left. It doesn't need to get all the way there. Left hand can come to left knee, let's come up. Finding our warrior two legs, Virabhadrasana 2. We want to track the left toes directly forward, and as the left knee bends, you can still see that left big toe, so that knee isn't pulling in. If you need to step the back foot forward a little bit, do so. If you need to roll the back hip forward a little bit to get that knee in position, do so. Okay, so we're starting to pull the hips open, to draw the hips open, but we're not doing it at the cost of that knee position. So there's an inward roll of the back inner thigh to help support the hips, and we're dragging the left heel back toward the right foot. Little self-adjustment, make sure the lower back is long, we're not sticking the bum out. So we're tucking under, drawing that left sit bone in beneath us, sending the left knee out. Left hand goes forward, right hand goes back. Take a full round of breath, let the hands sit at shoulder height. Shoulders relax. And then coming to reverse our warrior, we're going to flip the left palm up, reach the left hand up toward the ceiling. So we're not going backwards, we're reaching up. Again, building length through the left side. We can stay here, or we're going to take the left hand back toward the space between the shoulder blades. So left elbow lifts up, right hand comes to left elbow, and we draw it up toward the ceiling. Lean front body into back body a little bit so we're not starting to fold forward. Breathe into the parts of the body that are opening. Keep that left knee reaching wide. Let's take one more breath. And then carefully releasing the right hand. Take it back to your lower back of the hand touches. Reach the left hand up. Keep that space that you just made through your left side body. We draw the left leg towards straight, doesn't need to be all the way there. We're going to reach the left hand forward, so we've still got all that space. Left hand comes down to your left shin. Make sure there's a micro bend in your left knee. Often when we come to this shape, we have no weight in the bottom hand. Today I invite you to really press into your shin to lift and lengthen the left side body. All right, so we lift up and away, start to wrap that right shoulder back. See if you can reach your right fingertips maybe around to your left hip, otherwise it's lower back. So we wrap right shoulder back, leaning front body into back body. Chin is tucked in, gaze can be forward, down, or maybe a little challenge on the balance, taking the gaze up. Try to draw your left heel back toward your right foot. And if you feel like the bottom is starting to stick out, tuck it under, and this will draw the shoulders back into line as well. Let's take a full round of breath. And to release this, we'll release that right hand first. Reach it up. As if you're taking a hold of something to help you lift up. Circle the arms back forward. Rebend the left knee and then circle the hands down. Frame the left foot, lift the right heel. Slide the left foot back. Downward facing dog. How does it feel? Again, maybe a little different. From here, lift high onto the tippy toes. As you exhale, bring the knees down. Find your low plank. So we pull the pubic bone forward. The shoulders are over the wrists. Wrap the elbows in. Pull the hands back to lower thighs, hips, belly, and chest. So we pull back against the hands. Roll the elbows in. A little lift through the shoulders. You can stay here. Press the pubic bone down and forward, or hover the hands. Draw the elbows back. We can stay here or reach the hands back, keep the back of the neck long, up, back, and in, like you're trying to reach toward your heels. And then maybe you interlace the fingers. Maybe. Doesn't need to happen. And this just tugs the shoulder blades in toward each other and down the upper back a little bit more. Wherever your position, take one more breath in. And then if your fingers are interlaced, release that interlace and let's slowly lower back down on the exhale. Hands come underneath the shoulders, tuck your toes, lift your hands and knees on the inhale. And then let's roll all the way back up into a kneeling position. Okay, we'll step the right foot forward. And we're going to do all that on the other side. So right foot forward. I'm going to turn myself around, otherwise my back is going to be to you. Right foot forward. Right knee over the right ankle. Left foot swivels out to the right. And so we're bending through the right knee. The hips can be a little in front of that left knee. Just make sure it feels okay through that inner thigh as well. So we're stabilizing as much as we can. That left hip is back, but it doesn't need to be directly behind the right. Check the front knee and the position of it. Draw the right sit bone in underneath you. Lengthen out the lower back. Build length through both sides of the body so the shoulders are sitting directly over the hips and the belt line is as parallel as we can get it to that floor. Right hand forward, left hand back, hands sit at shoulder height, reaching, lengthening through the fingertips. Okay, we'll flip the right palm up and then take the right fingers up toward the ceiling. Support the left hip with the left hand and reach up. There's something almost within your grasp. Take a hold of it. Build that length through the right side of your body. Keep drawing back against your right heel like you're trying to pull your right heel toward your left knee. Let's take one more inhale. And then on the exhale, release your right hand down. Slide the right leg a little longer. The left hip is now over the left knee. Press down through your right heel, flex your toes up. Draw the toes back toward the kneecap, but don't lock the knee joint out. More of a bend is absolutely acceptable. Again, hips pull toward even. We're drawing that right sit bone underneath us. Right hand is going to slide down the right leg. No weight though, no pressure. Bring your left arm up. Take your left hand behind the head. Let the head relax back into the hand. Hold it lovingly. And then draw the left elbow up as you lightly slide the right hand down the right leg. And again, we're going up toward the ceiling, not so much over, so we don't want to crunch into this bottom side waist. We want to keep it as long as we can. Oh, there we go. Front chest into back chest. Elbow up, 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 up toward the ceiling. Head relax back into hand. Pull back against that right heel. Let's take one more breath in. And then one more breath out. Okay, reach the left hand up and this will help support us back up on the inhale. And then on the exhale, bend through the right knee. We'll partner the hands down, frame the right foot, slide the left foot back. Lift the left knee up. And then start to prepare for our warrior two legs. So if you found yourself super wide, maybe you step in a little bit. Warrior two is generally wider than warrior one. because the positioning of the hips allows us to sink a little deeper into the front knee. We ground through the outer edge of the back foot. The left hip draws back, the right sit bone pulls under. And then maybe you support yourself on your right knee as you come up. So let's start by looking at the right knee. You want to be able to see your big toe. You don't want that knee to be super far in front because that's just not stable. So we're stacking knee over ankle joint or back a little is absolutely fine. We're pulling back against the foot like you're trying to drag it to the center of the mat. All right, now that's in position. The right hip is tucking under, the lower back is long, the pubic bone is drawing up, so the spine is long. The left hip is rolling down a little bit to stabilize that, and this helps us ground through the outer edge of the foot. So down, inner thigh rolls back. This brings the belt line to parallel to the floor. Right hand forward, left hand back, jaw relaxed. Let's take a full round of breath in. And a nice big exhale. And then flip the right palm up, and as you inhale, reach the right fingertips up toward the ceiling. We're not going back, we're going up. And make sure as you go up with the hand, we're not starting to shift through the lower body. So the lower body stays stable. It's like we're pulling the right side of the torso up out of that right hip. Okay, we bend at the elbow, bring the hand back to the space between the shoulder blades, bring the left hand up to that right elbow, and help it lift. Let your head relax back toward the arms. Draw that elbow up in space. Keep bending through the right knee, sending the knee wide. Let's take one more breath in. One more breath out. And release the left hand, travel it around toward your lower back. Release the right arm, reach it up. Reach it up, draw the right leg straighter, not all the way straight, not locking the knee out. Keep that length that you've built through your right side body. We'll reach the right hand forward and then down toward the right leg. Then make sure you're not locking out the knee. We're going to lift up away from the leg by pressing into the hand, building length through the right side. Left hand is behind the lower back, back of the hand presses. Maybe with this lift of the right side body, we're able to roll the left shoulder back a little bit more and maybe travel that left hand around to the right hip. Left shoulder sets up, chest broadened, choosing or exploring the positions of the head just to see what feels best for you today. Making sure that the neck is aligned with the spine so we're not just letting the head drop down. Finding your breath. Letting front body lean into back body. Let's take one more breath in. One more breath out. And releasing your hand from your left hip or your lower back and reaching it back up. This is your lift. Take it. Coming all the way back up, bending the right knee, circling the hands down, lifting the left heel, and stepping the left foot forward to the front of the mat. Feet together or hip distance apart of choice. Halfway lift hands to shins. Lift through the chest, roll the shoulders back. And then folding down over the legs. From here, we're going to walk the feet out to hip distance apart if they're not already there. You can keep your hands on the mat. You can hook opposite elbows and let the head go heavy. Or, option to reach the hands up, interlace the fingers behind the lower back. Okay, once they're there, if you're taking this option, reach your hands up toward the ceiling, pull the shoulder blades in toward each other, and then start to arc the arms up and overhead. Head relaxes heavily down, jaw is relaxed. 3 big breaths here. If your arms are up overhead, start to draw them back down toward your lower back. And then once they're there, release the interlace of the fingers. Let's bring the hands down to the mat, spread through the fingers, press into the palms, walk the feet back to your downward facing dog. And then roll forward, find your low plank, bring the knees down, pull the pubic bone forward, wrap back against the elbows, bend them to lower thighs, hips, belly, chest. Okay, from here, we're going to slide the elbows forward so that they're directly underneath the shoulders. Hug the pubic bone forward, maybe the belly button lifts off the mat. Drag back against the hands and the elbows to send the chest through the upper arms. And it's just a gentle gaze forward, maybe. Chin stays tucked in. We're not leading this with the head. We want to lift out of the shoulders, pull the pubic bone forward, lift the belly button, plug the elbows and the hands back. Press down through the tops of the feet, through the sphinx. Let's take one more inhale. And then slide the elbows wide to lower on the exhale. Hands come back beside you. From here, right arm goes to the right, hand at shoulder height. Palm faces down, right cheek to the mat. We roll onto the right side of the body. Left foot comes just behind the right knee. So opening up across the right shoulder. Lots of expanding across the chest, the heart space today. Allowing the body to be open. And let yourself soften into this a little bit more. Maybe close down the eyes. And then carefully, nice and slowly, lengthen out that left leg, roll back onto the belly, take your time. Left hand goes to the left, palm faces down, hand is at shoulder height. Left cheek to the mat, right hand underneath right shoulder, then the right knee, and roll onto your left side. Right foot is just behind the left leg. And some deep breaths here. And then very carefully extending the right leg, rolling back onto your belly. And once you're there, bring the hands in underneath the shoulders, tuck the toes under, press into your knees, and we're going to slide it back to our child's pose. So big toes together, knees wide, hip distance are as wide as the mat, hips sink back toward heels. Elbows in front of the shoulders, hands in front of the shoulders. Let the head sink through, maybe it finds the mat. You can prop it up on something if you want, let the head rest towards something. And then staying here or bending the elbows, bringing the hands together and drawing your prayer back behind your head. And again, elbows are forward, but it's hugging back against them to open across the heart space, sink the chest through. Just 3 breaths. If you've taken that prayer behind the head, reach the hands forward. And then walk your hands in, start to lift up. We'll shuffle those legs out from underneath us. And then if you've ended up right at the back of your mat, like me, shuffle forward. We're going to come down onto our backs. So you can hold your thighs or in whatever way you want to, lie yourself down. Take the right ankle, cross it over the left knee, flex the foot, press the right knee away, and then you can stay here. This is already enough on that glute. Let the head, the shoulders relax. Otherwise, hands interlace around the back of the left thigh. So coming for a figure 4 shape. Keep drawing the right knee away from the right shoulder. Keep the tailbone down, the shoulders down, the back of the head heavy. Back of the neck long. Flex out that right foot. Just a couple of breaths here. Maybe send the left leg long just for the last breath. Alright, bend the left knee, release the interlace of the fingers behind the thigh, bring the foot down, send the right leg up, hips are even, and then bring the right foot down. We'll go straight to the other side. Left ankle crosses the right knee, foot is flexed, knee presses away. Explore this might be more than enough. Or maybe you interlace your fingers behind the right thigh. Continue to press the left knee away from the left shoulder. Both sides of the body are long. Back of the neck is long. Tailbone down, shoulders down, back of the head heavy. Breathing into the sensations in the body. And maybe that right leg goes up for the last breath, yeah? Tailbone stays down. And then bend the right knee, bring the right foot back down to the mat, release the interlace of the fingers, uncross the left leg. Preparing for Shavasana. We're going to tuck the tailbone under, down, and then draw the shoulders in and down, letting the back rest on the mat, tucking the chin in, and then when you're ready, slide the legs long, and rest the arms down beside the body, palms face up. And if you want to pop something warm on, do so. We're just going to be here for a couple of minutes, and it is super tempting, especially when we're not all in a room together to practice, to not give Shavasana importance and to just move straight on to the day. But the opportunity for Shavasana really lets everything that we just did settle in the body. So I encourage you to take this opportunity. I'm going to stay with you for a couple of minutes, and then if you want to, just stay in Shavasana. If you've got the space, it's wonderful. Okay, so starting to close down the eyes, letting the back parts of the body go heavy, relaxing the front parts of the body. And as you settle here, I'm just going to read you a little passage from The Tree of Yoga by B.K.S. Iyengar. And you can listen to the words if you want something to sort of draw focus, or just let the words wash over you. Okay, it's called The Tree of Yoga. When you grow a plant, you first dig the earth, remove the stones and weeds, and make the ground soft. Then you put the seed into the ground and surround it with the soft earth so carefully that when the seed opens, it will not be damaged by the weight of the earth. Finally, you water the seed a little and wait for it to germinate and grow. After 1 or 2 days, the seed opens into a seedling and a stem grows from it. Then the stem splits into 2 branches and produces leaves. It steadily grows into a trunk and produces branches in various directions with many leaves. Similarly, the tree of the self needs to be taken care of. The sages of old, who experienced the side of the soul, discovered its seeds in yoga. This seed has 8 segments, which, as the tree grows, give rise to the 8 limbs of yoga. The root of the tree is yama, which comprises of 5 principles of ahimsa, non-violence, satya, truthfulness, asteya, freedom from avarice, brahmacharya, control of sensual pleasure, and aparigrapha, freedom from covetousness. The observance of yama disciplines the 5 organs of action, which are the arms, the legs, the mouth, the organs of generation, and the organs of excretion. Naturally, the organs of action control the organs of perception and the mind. If one intends to do harm, but the organs of action refuse to do it, the harm will not be done. The yogi therefore begins with control of the organs of action. Yama is thus the root of the tree of yoga. Then comes the trunk, which is compared to the principles of niyama. These are sosha, cleanliness, santosha, contentment, tapas, artha, svadhyaya, self-study, and ispara pranidhana, self-surrender. These 5 principles of niyama control the organs of perception: the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, and the skin. From the trunk of the tree, several branches emerge. One grows very long, one grows sideways, one grows zigzag, one grows straight, and so on. These branches are the asana, the various postures which bring the physical and the physiological functions of the body into harmony with the physiological patterns of the yogic discipline. From the branches grow the leaves, whose interaction with the air supply energizes the whole tree. The leaves draw in the external air and connect it to the inner parts of the tree. They correspond to pranayama, the science of breath, which connects to the macrocosm with the microcosm and vice versa. Notice, when inverted, our lungs give a representation of a tree. Through pranayama, the respiratory and circulatory systems are brought into a harmonious state. The mastery of asana and pranayama help the practitioner to detach the mind from the contact of the body, and this leads automatically inward toward concentration and meditation. The branches of the tree are all covered in bark. Without the protection of the bark, the tree would be eaten away by worms. That covering protects the energy flowing inside the tree between the leaves and the root. The bark thus corresponds to pratyahara, which is the inward journey of the senses from the skin to the core of the being. The sap of the tree, the juice which carries the energy on its inward journey, is dharana. Dharana is concentration, focusing the attention on the core of the being. The tree's fluid or sap sinks the very tip of the leaf to the tip of the root. The experience of this unity of the being from the periphery to the core, where the observer and the observed are one, is attained in meditation. When the tree is healthy and the supply of energy is wonderful, then the flower blossoms out of it. Thus, dhyana, meditation, is the flower of the tree of yoga. Finally, when the flower is transformed into a fruit, this is known as samadhi. As the essence of the tree is in the fruit, so the essence of the practice of yoga is in the freedom, poise, peace, and beatitude of samadhi, where the body, the mind, and the soul are united and merge with the universal spirit.